Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions, here to talk to you about This Is Us Season 1, Episode 2, titled The Big Three. This is the second of the 4 episodes at the beginning of the series that I have committed to discussing. After this video, I will be doing a much shorter review of the most recent episode that aired earlier this week. Once again, just to warn you guys, this video is not going to be spoiler free, so if you haven't seen this one, stop now and go check it out, and then come back to me. We open with the past timeline, but we skip ahead from where we last saw Jack and Rebecca and the kids to where they're about 8 years old. The show's present timeline is usually told in linear fashion, while the past timeline jumps around from episode to episode. This episode shows the kids when they're about 8 years old, and the next episode goes back to when the big three were just babies. It's a unique way of telling a story, gradually revealing things about the characters that we didn't know. From the get-go, we have a young Kevin calling Randall Webster, an unflattering nickname he's gotten at school. Webster, for those of you who don't know, was a series that ran from 1983 to 1989 about a black kid adopted by a white family. At this point in the series, I was not a fan of the adult Kevin, and I quickly find that I don't like the younger version much either. This episode gives you a peek at the strained relationship between the two brothers. Randall getting picked on by kids at school, being called Webster because they think it's weird that Kevin and him are brothers, is a small but running thread throughout the episode. In a different series, and I might even go as far as to say a lesser series, this would end with a young Kevin realizing the error of his ways and sticking up for his brother against his peers. This literally doesn't happen within the episode. There is no resolution to this story whatsoever. The last we see of the kids is when they are getting off the bus. Kevin's friends call Randall Webster, and Kevin does not stick up for him. His friends, and I say this in quotation marks, tell him to ditch Randall, and he does so. He doesn't look happy about it, but he still does it. The closest we get to a resolution of this story is in the present day timeline, when an adult Kevin admits to never having been a good brother to him. We will talk more about that later. In the opening shots, by the way, we get a close-up of a crockpot. The crockpot of doom. To people who haven't actually watched this series yet, this doesn't mean anything. But to longtime fans, it has deep meaning. And it actually kind of makes me wonder how far in advance the creators planned the series. We see Jack ready for work, looking like crap. He looks terrible in this episode. We get a sense early on of the tension between him and Rebecca that will play out through the episode. We then had the big three chant for the first time. First came me, and Dad said gee. And then came me, and Mom said we. And then came me, and Dad said that's 3. I probably shouldn't even have tried to duplicate that, but the order is Kevin, and then Kate, and then Randall. Now, Jack has a reputation in this series, especially early on, among critics and fans, as being sort of a saint-like character. He can do no wrong. He always has the right answers and knows what to say. His kids in the future seem to have this impression. Which is why I find it funny that in the second episode of this series, the second one, very early on, we see Jack painted as an alcoholic who is essentially ignoring his family. Hardly the acts of a saint. I remember reading articles talking about an episode much later in Season 1 that said that episode was a thorough deconstruction of Jack's image. Well, that already happened in this very episode. Now, I remember the events of this episode, and I remember quite a few scenes from this episode, but I did not remember it happening so early in the series. We cut to Randall and Beth in bed late at night. Beth feels like she needs to say something, but doesn't know how. Randall goes on a speech saying how she doesn't need to censor herself ever, and she just say whatever she needs to say. And so she does so. And I'm actually going to play a brief clip of the scene because I actually managed to find it and found a way to use it. So here goes.
You don't have to censor yourself, ever. Not with me. Now, what's your question?
How long is your crack addict biological daddy gonna be sleeping in our 6-year-old daughter's bedroom?
Damn.
I know, right?
You need to censor yourself, woman.
It's just got real.
I'd play more of that clip, but I'm trying not to get in trouble with YouTube. The dialogue in the scene is a good demonstration of why Randall was my favorite character and why I love their relationship. In this scene, we reveal that the girls don't know who William actually is. They think of William as Daddy's 70-year-old coworker who likes his sleepovers. She's worried about the endgame. Randall wants him to go see the specialist for his stage 4 cancer to see how long he's going to live and if there's anything they can do for him. After that, they will play it by ear. We then cut back to the past timeline where we are introduced to Miguel, sitting in a bar with Jack at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, presumably after they got off of work. This is the first time we are seeing Miguel in the series. He's played by John Hurtis, who I had actually not seen in anything up to this point. Jack is venting about the home situation with the kids and his wife. Miguel looks like he wants to say something, but just says he's there to listen to Jack vent. But then he goes off on a long tangent that demonstrates that the writing in the series really is fantastic. Basically taking Jack to task for being in a bar while his wife is at home looking after the kids. He goes on to say that Jack very much married out of his league, and if he were him, he would try very hard not to give him a reason for her to notice. Miguel later calls Jack and talks to his voice machine to apologize for his comments, saying he overstepped and that he loves them both. And maybe he overstepped. But judging from what we see of Jack's behavior in this episode and what is to come, he was 100% right in what he said. We see William in the morning talking about vices to Randall's kids, i.e. drugs. He claims that Randall doesn't have any vices. William is trying to be honest with the girls and the questions they are asking, but takes it a step too far when he starts talking about cocaine, which comically causes Randall and Beth, who were eavesdropping on the conversation, to interrupt him. Randall tells William about the doctor he wants him to go see. William seems reluctant, but Randall insists. William tells them that they have been very kind to him and to let him know when he's overstayed his welcome. Beth looks very much like she wants to say that he already is, but Randall beats her to the punch to say no, of course not. William asks for money to take the bus, which Randall agrees to, and that starts the thread of Beth being suspicious of William. I'm sure she already was, but this is the first time we see of that thread. Still in the present timeline, we cut to Kevin, wearing a completely ridiculous ski hat in the middle of summer. He enthusiastically greets a guy he recognizes, but misidentifies him as Victor, when in fact his name is Hector. The scene really doesn't help very much with my opinion of the character at this point in the series, because he's acting very much like a tool. He's here to talk to his agent about the fallout from him quitting the Manny. We see Kevin's agent, played by Katie Seagal of Married with Children fame. You might notice her more nowadays from Sons of Anarchy. She is not happy with him. We find out that Kevin was discovered by her at a comedy troupe. She didn't find him funny, but thought there was something there. He appeared in commercials and soaps before getting his big break with The Manny, where he makes nearly $3 million a season. And after basically tearing Kevin a new one, she calls him on the ridiculous hat that she's wearing, which I'll admit I chuckled at. It's revealed here that he is contractually obligated to appear on the show for 2 more years. If he doesn't go back, he won't be able to work in the industry for years, and might not ever be able to do so again. We cut to Kevin and Kate on her steps. Kevin is venting about the situation and saying he needs to attend a party to mend fences, and then return to the show that he doesn't want to return to. Kate's advice to him is to go to the party and say, "Manny out," which is a phrase Kevin takes a shine to. I honestly would have given real money if that's exactly what he ended up saying to the bigwigs later in the episode. Spoiler alert, sadly, he doesn't. Kevin basically forces Kate to go with him, and finally the credits. 12 minutes into the episode, we are getting the opening credits. That's an unusually long cold open for television. Upon our return, we get another Randall and Beth scene, where William comes home, finally, after a long day. He doesn't seem to want to talk about what he's up to, which further escalates Beth's suspicions of him. Cut to the past timeline, where Rebecca is managing the kids' bedtime, which includes dealing with Randall and Kevin fighting. And Kevin is very much acting like a brat. We've only seen pieces of the whole at this point. When we get more episodes later in the series, we get some reasons for why Kevin acts like this. But at this point, what we are getting doesn't make me like this Kevin that much any more than I do the adult Kevin. And I know this is a reoccurring theme. We see Jack return home, clearly drunk, talking about being out of sync lately with his wife, and he has a piece of jewelry as a peace offering. Rebecca thinks they've been more than out of sync. She asks Jack, "How do you think we're doing as parents so far?" And she has a pretty memorable speech that I couldn't duplicate if I tried, so I'm not going to. I don't have a clip for it, unfortunately. I wish I did. But summed up, Jack needs to get his crap together. And he needs to stop drinking because she's just not going to deal with it. She's not going to have it in her house and around her kids. Further proving that Miguel's earlier ass-kicking was not only right, but well-deserved. We cut to present-day Kate's group, where she starts going off on members, including Madison, who is clearly not overweight, but has body issues. After the fact, Toby approaches her with jokes, still obnoxious here, by the way, but Toby's motivation seems to be about wanting to discover what is exactly going on with Kate. She reveals she's stressed about going to the party that Kevin is forcing her to go to. In response, Toby basically invites himself as long as her date. Kevin is at the party. He talks to Kate to get a little pep talk, and he repeats, "Manny out!" And I'm still bummed that's not what he ends up saying to the executives. I'll eventually get over it. Toby tries to get Kate to dance. She does so for a little bit, but then starts getting self-conscious. Toby has no such issue. In response, Toby decides to get Kate drunk. Kevin meets up with the agent and the executive, and he does his version of Manny out. He says that his behavior and the way he went about things was wrong. He apologizes for that, but he suggests that they should just let him move on. The executive here is played by Brad Garrett of Everybody Loves Raymond fame. The executive gives him a long speech, which Kevin interprets initially as being a sign that he's going to let him off the hook. Not so much. The executive tells him that if he doesn't return to the show, he will Nagasaki his career. Kevin returns to talk to Kate after the fact, but at this point she's very drunk and no longer capable of helping him. Kate, by the way, is an absolutely hilarious drunk. We cut to late at night. Beth goes into William's room and wants to talk. She basically interrogates William. She tells him that she's wrong about Randall. He does have a vice, and it's his decency and essential goodness that is his vice. She essentially views her role as Randall's wife as protecting him. William starts to say again that if he's outstayed his welcome, he's more than happy to leave. Beth is very close to saying it when once again Randall interrupts the scene to try to figure out what Beth is doing here. It's revealed that the reason William got on the bus and keeps going home is because he wants to feed his cat, Clooney, which is an ironic name for the cat because the cat is actually ugly. And that pretty much ends that particular thread in this episode. We cut back to Kevin and his dilemma. He's not able to talk to Kate because she's pretty thoroughly drunk at this point. So instead, Kevin calls Randall, who's in bed sleeping. This is the first interaction between the two of them as adults that we get in this series. He tells them that he hasn't been a very good brother. And Randall agrees, but tells him there's still time. Kevin also admits, regretfully, that he cares too much about what everyone thinks. Thus kind of connecting to the earlier scenes of their childhood, of Kevin not sticking up for Randall. Randall's advice is to say that their parents didn't raise no whores. And he makes a joke about Kate's highlighting phase, which is intriguing, and it'd be interesting to get more information about that, but we won't hear. Kate has joined the conversation at this point, and Randall starts the Big Three chant. Kevin says his part, and Kate, clearly know what's going on, anxiously awaits her part. When she gets her chant, she does so in a very exaggerated fashion. Did I mention that Kate is hilarious when she's drunk? Kevin makes his decision. He's going to stick to his guns and tell the executives to screw off, and then go and do Broadway. We cut to Rebecca and Jack's final scene of the episode. He's been sleeping with his back to the wall of their bedroom. Rebecca finds him, and Jack says he's going to stop drinking. Rebecca tells him that he can't just stop. He says he can. If this were the last we heard of Jack's alcoholism, I'd be pretty annoyed. Thankfully, it's not. Jack reveals that all he ever wanted to be since he was 28 was to be Rebecca's husband, and to be the best for her. Tying into their earlier conversation, when Rebecca gave them a low score, mainly because of Jack's recent behavior, Jack says that from now on, he's going to be 11 for her. Nay, he's actually going to be a 12. He gives her a necklace that's a little moon-shaped thing, and they start to make out on the floor when the kids come out of the bedroom to pigpile them. Present day, for the final scene at Randall and Beth's house, with William, in a very subtle way, making himself a part of the family. We hear the doorbell, and one of the kids gets excited that Grandpa and Grandma are here. William very obviously beats a hasty retreat to his room. We see an older Rebecca for the first time wearing the moon-shaped necklace that he got from Jack, and we expect to see Jack, but we don't. Instead, we see Miguel. We still have no idea where Jack is at the present day timeline, and this question is now the main one. Miguel's presence does one of two things. It makes us ask, where the hell is Jack? This time we're asking much more forcefully, did they get divorced? Is he dead? The other thing it does is it stacks the deck against Miguel as a character. Based on what little we see of him, we are inclined to dislike Miguel, which brings me back to something that I alluded to in my last video about Kevin. I said the creators kind of wanted us to dislike Kevin as a character. They stacked the deck against Kevin, and they are doing so here with Miguel. We are given very little information to go on about these two situations, and we do as humans do. We make judgment calls. Something that in real life I have called out against. I have said that we need more empathy and less judgment in our society. But here, I am guilty of judging Kevin, based on not all the facts. Now, he's a fictional character, so I'm not that broken up about it, but the point remains. We don't want to spend the time and energy it requires to see the whole picture, so we make snap judgments. This tendency of human beings to leap to conclusions based on scant evidence is actually a survival instinct among humans, an old evolutionary holdover. Back in ancient times, if we didn't make quick decisions like this, we would end up eaten or dead. It's one of the reasons why we kind of suck as a species. We are not biologically programmed in such a way to exist in life as it currently is. The creators punish us for this. When we get more information about Miguel, it remains goofy to still not like the guy. And yet, some elements of the fandom still don't. When we get more information on Kevin, we get a more thorough understanding of his character. All is not what it seems. There is more than meets the eye. We will talk more about this when we get to future episodes. But for now, that's all I got for this episode. So, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I need all the help I can get from you guys. This is Dave from Corman Productions signing off. Dave out.